I think right before the band kind of formed, I had a pretty crazy experience with a shaman in Mexico for a couple
Really?
for about a month. I was in the middle of the jungle with a shaman with a friend, and sort of happened randomly, but yeah, I ended up doing a lot of mushrooms over a month and had some pretty crazy experiences and sort of revelations about, what I wanted to create musically, artistically. And yeah, I think that sort of instigated the decision to really dive into it, and what I wanted the project to be about and represent, you know. So there's been a lot, but that was sort of the instigation, I think.
Okay, a shaman in the Mexican jungle. All right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Through my window, cast your spell.
What up, what up, what up, everybody? Welcome back to another one Convos. Today joining us is another very special guest, Old Man Canyon. New music out. We're gonna talk about your music, talk about kind of, everything you got going on right now. And yeah, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, man. Good to be here.
Okay, so I mean, I always like to start from the beginning, kind of with people, maybe her fans, listeners who might not be that familiar with you. So kind of like what's your background? How'd you kind of first start getting the music and whatnot?
I think it kind of started with the school I went to growing up. It was sort of an arts-based school that kind of focused on more of the development of the creative side of kids, kind of, at least in the younger grades. And then sort of in the older grades, we joined an orchestra. So everyone in the school had to play a violin, viola, or a cello.
Okay.
So that kind of, I think, instigated a little bit of the, at least more of the classical side of, learning theory and all that sort of stuff. And then I think that just sort of inspired, all of, different friend groups, different bands to develop. And yeah, that's sort of where it started. And then, yeah, I just slowly picked up more instruments, and, my tastes change over the years, and different experimentation with different genres. And yeah, I've gone between them all: hip hop, folk. Yeah, it's all kind of influenced me in different ways. So I
Okay.
think that's where it began.
And you grew up in Vancouver, correct?
I did, yeah.
Okay, and I guess kind of like how was Vancouver in the music scene, and kind of like how that like influenced you like musically in any way that you can kind of recognize?
Um, I think, it's an interesting music scene. Some would say it's not the most kind of, not the best kind of in some
Mm,
ways, but I think when I was into folk music, the scene was really, inclusive of that sort of thing. And but going into the psychedelic world, it's not so, I don't know, it's not so inclusive in that way. So I've sort of felt like I've kind of created my own scene here with certain friends and certain groups. And yeah, I'm slowly learning how the scene needs to be adjusted and trying to influence it in positive ways as well.
okay, yeah. I mean, can't really off the top of my head, I can't really think of too many are like big artists from Vancouver. So like I can't really like kind of picture what the actual scene would be like, because everybody kind of has a sound sometimes when something develops. I just couldn't really
It's
picture any.
very Canadian. I'll say that. So
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know what that means, but yeah,
I
it's
mean, when you say Canadian, I just picture you like said folky and kind of, more, I
yeah,
guess in that type of realm,
yeah,
Americana almost.
exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
no, that's a good way to imagine it.
Okay. So like, so who are some like your favorite artists like when you were younger and like coming up and that like influenced you the most?
Honestly, like when I was in super into folk, it was, Head and the Heart, Lumineers, that
Okay.
kind of stuff. But, it sort of shifted to, Father John Misty stuff, and then more MGMT, Tame Impala, Unknown Mortal Orchestra type of stuff is kind
Okay.
of more
Yeah.
in what I'm interested in creating now. Youth Lagoon, Devendra Banhart. So there's a lot of people that a lot of different genres that I think I sort of include in my creative process and
Yeah. I could definitely, I
sound.
could definitely, definitely hear that in like some of your sound, especially some of your sound that you have currently. So like, kind of
Yeah.
what kind of precipitated that shift in sound, I guess, over your.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think probably the people I was collaborating with, we kind of just slowly shifted to wanting to create a different energy in what we were making, more of a psychedelic sort of experience, more of a beats that sort of resembled hip hop in some way, just the sort of vibe and everything that I loved about hip hop. There's certain elements kind of in there. And then, just different lyrical content, wanting to talk about different things. It just sort of naturally, I don't know, shifted to being a different vibe. And it's got super into analog equipment. So it's just sort of been this slow building, shifting obsession with gear and different experiences you want to create at a live show as well, that maybe just an acoustic guitar couldn't really do anymore for me.
Yeah, I definitely hear a lot more, I guess, synth heavy kind of production with in your newer stuff. You did mention kind of psychedelic as being like kind of a direction that you're heading in. So like, I mean, without incriminating yourself, were psychedelics something that you like kind of experienced and that kind of like shaped you musically? Or
oh yeah, there's been a lot of psychedelic experiences. I think right before the band kind of formed, I had a pretty crazy experience with a shaman in Mexico for about a month. I was in the middle of the jungle with a shaman with a friend, and sort of happened randomly, but I ended up doing a lot of mushrooms over a month and had some pretty crazy experiences and sort of revelations about what I wanted to create musically, artistically. And I think that sort of instigated the decision to really dive into it and what I wanted the project to be about and represent. So there's been a lot, but that was sort of the instigation, I think.
Okay, a shaman in the Mexican jungle.
Yeah.
So I guess like that was like your first experience kind of dealing with psychedelics and like opening that part of your experience.
The first really meaningful one that was guided, and there was something. You're able to go a lot deeper when there's someone, I think, that has the knowledge of those experiences, like a shaman does. And I'd done them tons kind of in school and stuff, but it's different when you're going into it with a different intention, I think is what it's all about.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Like, I guess with some of like your other passions, because like I see you involved with the artwork, your own artwork, you do, I guess some of your videos are pretty, out there and very visually engaging, I guess. So what's some, like, are you kind of just artistic across the board, or you're starting to kind of dabble?
Yeah, no, I've sort of just always been into all the different art forms, and I love making videos, like you said. I love painting. I love doing visual art, and I think that's kind of what I love about music, is it's sort of just allowed me to do them all kind of at once, because they all support each other. You can, you need to do them all to be a musician, and I think it's helped have the aesthetic kind of in mind as I'm doing it, and not rely on all these other people to make sure it's happening the way I want it.
Okay.
So I've always been into it. I love doing all that stuff. So it's hard for me to even say I'm more into music than those other things. It's just sort of in the way it's gone so far. Music stuck out as the thing to follow so far.
How'd you get the name Old Man Canyon? Like how did you come up? How the name come to be?
It came from, so I grew up in Vancouver. There's like near the mountains, there's a place called Lynn Canyon, and that's where I grew up. And it's very much in the forest, right on a canyon. And it sort of came out of that shaman experience, the name, and just sort of the energy that I felt like the canyon sort of has always had, the sort of wisdom that, I don't know, I've just always felt there, going on walks, just being in nature, and I think it came from that, just the energy that's sort of there, and it's an old man canyon. It feels old. It feels old.
All right.
Hard to describe, but yeah.
You've been releasing music for like a decent amount of time now, I guess. So what are some of the lessons that you learned like from some of your earlier releases? Like you had like Phantom and Friends, and you had like a lot of early success with that, and I guess do you have like a clear evolution path to like kind of where you are now? Like, so what are some like your lessons that you learned since your earlier stuff?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm still sort of uncovering what those lessons are, but
Uh,
I think it's been very evident how important it is to stay true to what you want to create and not get swayed along the way, depending on, what people are trying to tell you to make or what you think your audience wants to hear. So I think I've tried to maintain that and not pay too much attention to what other people think. And I think that's still really important and something I still struggle to maintain. And yeah, and to not just be too tied up in the areas that you've had success, not trying to repeat those or like, just not trying to constantly recreate the same thing just because something was successful. You just have
yeah.
to, I've really had to remind myself to just trust what I'm feeling in the moment, keep experimenting, keep creating. And yeah, I think what's right sort of usually pops out. And what if you're attentive to it and if you're listening and not rushing it. So I think that's sort of been the most vital part, is just trusting the instinct and trying to stay true to that amongst all the chaos that comes with releasing art or music in any way, because there's a lot of deterrence along the way that can really make you not want to do it anymore in some ways. So
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely probably one of the hardest parts about being a musician is for sure managing that business kind of aspect of it, because you still
yeah,
want to be, make some money and like live off
yeah,
it and be successful, but then like it's still an art form. So like you're also supposed to just express yourself, and it's kind of hard to balance that. I don't know if you've ever like felt
oh
like
yeah.
you've gotten a hold of it, or you're still kind of trying to figure out like that whole process.
I'm definitely still trying to figure it out, because it seems to be getting harder and harder. Like that gap between, having the business mind, which is really just social media now.
Yeah.
That's really, the whole industry is just based on the content you create for social media,
And
which I
impressions,
really,
and yeah. Yeah.
exactly. So it's like, I really find that's the complete contradiction to the creation of art. So like, yeah, like you said, maintaining that balance is tough. And I don't know if there ever will be a balance to it, because I think they're just opposite things,
Yeah, I guess
unfortunately.
when you came out, was there streamers, or was it still like a streaming business when you first
No, when I first released it, it was just like Bandcamp was
was the
the
only band?
tastemaker.
SoundCloud, maybe, I guess.
Exactly. SoundCloud, yeah, Bandcamp. So it's definitely been a bit of a shift, and it's shifted very quickly to, Spotify being the only tastemaker in the whole business,
I mean,
really.
I mean, basically, yeah,
You
they
know?
have a huge market share, and I guess
Yeah.
speaking of that, like they did kind of come out with some like major changes, obviously, to how they pay out and like kind of
Yeah.
some of the choices that they're doing. I think it was I forget the term they used, but I think it was supposed to be artist centered, meaning like it's based on only plays now or something like that,
Right.
or I don't know if you ever like really got into it as part of your business, like kind of understanding the streaming aspect. But I was kind of wondering, like, what's your thoughts on the direction that they're trying to head in?
Yeah, I don't buy it for a second that it's artist centered.
Yeah,
If that's what they're saying,
that is what they're
probably
saying.
it's
I
probably
mean,
the
it sounds
opposite.
good, buzzwords
Oh
sound
yeah.
sound
Oh yeah,
great. Yeah,
exactly. Honestly, man, it's hard to say. I think it's a bit dangerous when a certain, platform gains that much power over the decision making of whether an artist makes it or doesn't make it, or whether they're heard or not. So, I've been fortunate with it. So I can't like totally rip it all the way, because it is helping in some ways to get the
yeah,
music heard. Um, but there's so many artists that I think are more than deserving of, being very popular, that just because they haven't got on a playlist or something, no one knows
yeah,
about them,
yeah.
which I think is just stupid. So yeah, I don't know. I'm a little hesitant to decide exactly what it's about yet, but I think they've pretty much showed what their true colors are and their intention, which is to make money and take as much as they can from artists. So I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, from my basic kind of read off of what I kind of heard from it sounds like it's almost strictly going to benefit like the biggest artists out there, because they're going to get the most plays, they're going to get the most plays, they're going to get the most exposure, because they already a lot of them already have specific exclusive deals with them anyway. So
Exactly.
it
Yeah.
is kind of crazy that we're at this point where at least before you had labels, big labels, but you had, 4 or 5 of them. Now it
Yeah,
seems to be only like one because
yeah,
Spotify is basically like the new label, and like on a drop
exactly.
of a dime, they can change
Yeah.
how the whole industry pays out. It's kind of wild.
Oh yeah. No, I think all the big labels, it's just transitioned from, before having radio, which was very much controlled by the major labels,
Yeah,
and who was getting on radio was controlled by the labels. And now it's just shifted to, if you look at the shareholders of Spotify, it's all the major
all the
labels
labels. Yeah, yeah,
there. So it's the same thing. They've just created a different medium to be the tastemaker and the control, just with the illusion of artists being somehow more supported or more in control. It's the
yeah.
same tricks over and over.
And then I guess we also have Bandcamp going through their whole issues too
Yeah, they're
now because
sold
they've been,
now.
yeah,
Yeah,
twice now within a year, and
yeah,
nobody knows how that's going to really shake out. Like it's kind
no,
of a crazy time to be like on streamers and relying on that
it
as
is.
like your income.
Oh, totally. Yeah, it's hard to know where it's going to go.
So
Yeah.
I guess like how have you managed, a career up to this point in dealing with all these different things that are constantly changing? Is it just kind of hitting the road? Is it touring? Is it, building that community? Is that still like the number one thing?
Yeah, I think, I think when you create music, I think people find it one way or another. If it's meant to
Mm,
be heard, like it gets heard. Um, so I think that's been a big part of it, is just, like I said, maintaining just my just trusting myself and what I want to create, and trusting that the people who are, in support of what I make will find it. And that's been the case so far. And I think obviously there's been a lot of things that have helped that happen. Like, I've been really fortunate to have a lot of my songs in like TV and film. Um, but even that's now, it's shifting, and it's becoming much more less receptive to that sort of thing, with AI music, and just,
yeah.
yeah, just these companies are able to license music much cheaper and not actually have to pay artists in the same way. So that's what really helped me over the years, is getting my songs in these TV shows. And that's really helped, yeah, the audience grow, and people hear it in other countries that, usually you would have had to tour there in order for them
Yeah.
to hear it, or something like that. So that's helped a lot. And then yeah, I've toured a lot over the years, but that's always been, a bit of a struggle, to be honest, like, because I have been independent for most of my career. I just signed with a label the past year, so it's been a new experience for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna ask about that. You had like a lot of music syncs, especially early on with
Yeah,
your music. You had been on shows like Suits and Pretty Little Liars and Sons of Anarchy and Shameless, like some really, really big shows. And I was gonna
yeah.
ask like what was the experience of that and like how that impacted you. But like you mentioned, it was a big part of your early success.
No, it was amazing. Like, I think it was, yeah, I think it was the most fortunate most fortunate part of my career, I've experienced. Just yeah, the amount of people that found the music and were instantly interested in it just by seeing it in a show that they love, I think was really powerful. And yeah, it helped spread the music in a way that it never would have, I think, or would have taken a lot longer to do without it.
Did you watch like shows beforehand? Before, like, were you a viewer of any of them
Yeah.
before?
Yeah, yes, Suits I was definitely into before, Sons of Anarchy I was into before. Euphoria, I had a song in Euphoria, which was pretty cool. Um, yeah, it's been a lot, and I'm always just amazed. It's so interesting seeing how the music supervisors use your song, in
Yeah.
scenes that you never would have. You're like, my song doesn't fit in a romantic scene, but then you're like, oh, maybe it does.
Yeah, I was gonna ask like, what's that experience? Show that you're already watching, and then to see like your song pop up on
Yeah,
there, like
yeah, exactly. It's a trip.
kind of
It's a
surreal.
trip.
Yeah, kind of
Yeah,
surreal, right?
it's
Like,
amazing.
oh, yeah,
No, it
it's
really
cool.
is. Yeah. So hopefully that continues.
Okay, so I mean, you've been away for a little while, about 5 years since your last major project, correct?
Like three.
About
Yeah,
three. Okay,
three
okay.
and a half, something like that. But yeah, it feels like
So
five.
have you just used like these last 3 years, kind of just building like this new body of work, or
Yeah, I've been writing a lot, and just trying to deal with the planet and how I fit into it. And
yeah, there's been a
you
lot
know,
of
there's been a
upheaval
lot
around the
of,
world, to say the least. Yeah.
yeah, just trying to figure it out, what it means to be an artist, a human. I don't know. Yeah. Trying to juggle it all. But yeah, I've been writing a lot, and I have a lot more music to put out here. So hopefully the
Okay.
world
Yeah, I
doesn't
mean,
crumble before I can.
I mean, fingers crossed on that one, you know.
Exactly.
So I mean, that does bring us to the new EP, So Long Babylon, that just released this fall. So I
Yeah.
guess, how's it feel to have that body work out? Kind of what has been the responses so far and whatnot?
It's been really good to have it out. Like you said, it's felt like 10 years since I put music out. So it was definitely, readjusting to the process of putting music out, putting yourself out there and interacting with, the world again. But it's been really positive. Like everyone's been super excited about it, and which, helps me stay excited. And yeah, now I'm just trying to figure out touring and shows, and that's definitely a part that, I've really missed over the years, just because it's such an essential part to the process of creating. You spend all this time writing, recording, so it's such an internal kind of alone process, at least for me.
Yeah.
And then the touring and the shows are very the external, expressive, interacting with the world sort of side of it. So
Yeah, I
one
mean,
without the other is hard.
yeah, you get to see, I guess, the impact that your music has, like in
Totally.
person, like on
Yeah.
on people
Yeah.
for the first time.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm excited about that. Hopefully that's
So I
sorted
guess,
out soon.
how the title, what was, is there a meaning behind the title, So Long Babylon? Like, how that come to be, and like, is there anything special about that?
Yeah, it came, I'm sort of obsessed with like ancient cultures and ancient civilizations, and what ended up bringing these past civilizations down. And Babylon in Mesopotamia was a very like significant culture, and they were thought to be very spiritual, very technologically advanced in a lot of ways. And through their obsession with ego and greed and accumulating more, and their governments sort of taking more than they should from the people, that ultimately is what made that crumble. And I think I was just sort of relating it to the current world in so many ways that it parallels what's going on now. And yeah, I don't know, that's sort of where it came from, was just this, saying, just sort of letting go of that, of the need for something to crumble as well, and hopefully being able to find a solution that doesn't involve total destruction of
Yeah.
everything, hopefully.
Okay. So I guess some of the themes and illusions are kind of speaking to the current state of the world and like maybe current events.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Hard not to. Yeah.
There's also some talk about like maybe UFOs and other things that are also.
Yes. Yeah. That was a crazy, during the pandemic, while I was writing this album, there was like a 2-week period where I would go outside almost every day, around in the middle of the day too. And there would be these weird silver balls, lights. I don't know what they were, to be honest, but they would be sitting up in the sky for hours at a time, some moving, some disappearing, sometimes multiple. I have no idea if they were UFOs or what they were, to be honest. I don't know what else they could have been, but yeah, it was a really interesting time and sort of added to the already craziness of what was going on. And yeah, I don't know what they were, but it was something to them.
Okay. So, I mean, were you like a UFO believer before you had these experiences?
I was actually, which
Okay.
probably doesn't help the credibility of my story. But I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, it was really cool though. There was something in the sky, whatever they were. I don't
And this
know.
wasn't with the Mexican and shaman.
This was not on mushrooms. No.
Okay.
No, this is sober in the day too, which I've never.
Yeah. So I guess, I mean, that's interesting because obviously in the current events, there's also have been a lot of talk about UFOs,
Yeah.
and I guess that's what they call them now, UAPs or something like this now.
Yeah.
They just try to change the name.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's been like a lot of stuff from the government and like information being released, and even in Mexico, I guess they said that recently the guy came forward and said he found 2 alien bodies or something like that. So like, is this something that you keep up with?
Oh yeah. I'm pretty knowledgeable about everything that's going on with it. Yeah, it's a fascinating thing, especially, it kind of relates into the ancient culture stuff I was talking about too. And I think that's sort of what first kind of grasped me into that, is just how many different cultures kind of talk about, these different beings
Yeah.
from other places coming and influencing our development as humans. And yeah, it's kind of hard to ignore once you really look at every kind of origin story of every civilization, and they all have a very similar story in some way of
Yeah.
how they gain knowledge, and that they were assisted in some way by something. So I think that's kind of what really draws me into it.
I mean, for sure. I think it's, especially nowadays, even if you're not maybe a true believer, it's hard to ignore everything that's
Yeah,
like coming
yeah,
out and going on and all these different things happening. And, I have
totally.
no idea if it's true or not, but I do believe it's basically impossible. There's not something else out there.
Exactly. No, there's too much out there. There something's there.
Okay. So I guess, what was your creative process when it comes to like actually like creating the music for the CP?
Man, I try experimenting kind of as much as I can. I'm always just trying to switch the process up of sort of how ideas kind of come to be. And usually it's through it with a synth or a guitar and a drum machine or something. Sometimes it's totally different, but that's typically kind of how I write, is on a synth or a guitar. And I usually have some sort of beat going that I've made. And I'm just noodling around until something jumps out at me. And then sometimes I'll start recording kind of before the idea is totally done, just to kind of get more inspired and start figuring out the different parts and what kind of the song wants to feel like. And then I usually just start building on it. Sometimes it takes, yeah, a long time of just layering and slowly kind of figuring out the structure. Or yeah, like I said, sometimes the song's totally finished structurally and I'm just recording it and it comes out super quick. But it's always changing, kind of depending how the idea came about. But yeah.
I mean, so do you like handle most all the production yourself and
Oh
kind
yeah,
of,
I do
yeah?
it all myself. I play everything myself. And it's just sort of been the way I've done it the past, 3 albums or so. I don't know. I just sort of kind of, I don't, you can get ideas out a lot quicker sometimes, when you don't have other people around. But I don't know. I'm really feeling the desire to collaborate more kind of in the process too. So the band I currently have, they only play with me when I'm playing live. So I don't usually bring them in for the recording or any of the writing or anything like that. But I think on the next music, I'm going to try to just include people more in the
Yeah.
process of getting it all done, because it can get lonely.
Yeah. I can imagine. I
Yeah,
can definitely imagine. That's a
yeah,
lot of work you got to do.
it is. Yeah, yeah, it's a
So I
ton.
guess, what are some of your favorite tracks of, this project so far?
I think right now my favorite is "In Our Own Way." Um,
Okay.
I don't know why, just because we've been rehearsing a lot for the live shows, and it's been the funnest to play so far. I don't know why. I think it's got a good tempo, good guitar parts. I don't know. Feels
Is there
good.
any song that's kind of you've noticed has resonated the most, probably, I guess, with some of your listeners? Or
It's hard to say. I mean, there's been songs that have done good on Spotify, which
yeah,
might just be because they're on a playlist. But
yeah, it's hard to gauge sometimes
yeah,
on there.
it is. But people have really liked "What's Even Real Anymore."
It's a great song.
Thanks, man. And people have been liking "In Our Own Way" too. People have liked them all, which has been really nice to hear. So
I
we'll
mean, like
see.
I said, it's only small sample size EP.
Yeah,
Is implying, full album on the way, longer
yeah,
project on the way. Yeah.
yeah, totally. Yeah, there's going to be lots more music in the next year for sure. Yeah.
Okay. And you also have a release show November 19th, I believe.
Yes, sir. I do.
Okay.
Yeah, in Vancouver.
Um, is this one of your first shows in a while, or?
Almost 3 years. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
been it's been a minute. So I've got the pressure building, but I think it's going to be good. Yeah, excited.
Yeah, 3 years is quite a long time not to, play live, but I mean,
Oh
I'm sure
yeah.
it's gonna
Yeah,
be
I hope
feel
so.
great to have it out there.
Let's hope I remember how to play when I get up there.
I mean, is there any future plans you have? Like I said, I mean, you did mention some things like tour shows, kind of figuring all that out, and album on the way.
Yeah, that's kind of the main focus is, yeah, really trying to get more shows going, more tours. And then, yeah, I'm just going to work on new music and keep pumping it out, hopefully here in the next, 6 months or so. Hopefully another record is ready to go. That's
Okay,
about
that's
it.
cool. I mean, I think So Long Babylon is, it's an indication of music to come. I think you have something special on your hands, and
Thank you, man.
definitely was vibing with the whole thing. And I think it's like I said, there's no other way to really put it. It's a vibe. So
Appreciate that, dude. Yeah, that's great to hear.
and definitely, for all listeners, watchers, whatever, you should definitely go check them out. Go run up the streams on So Long Babylon. They're always changing over there, Spotify, so definitely help them out over there. And
Right.
yeah, and catch you on some shows, some tours, maybe next album on the way. Definitely look forward to maybe talking to you again.
That'd be great, dude. Hopefully I get to Arizona in this next tour.
For sure. I mean, you're always welcome down here. I think you fit in quite well down here. There's a lot of you. Hey, go to Sedona. If you like UFOs, you have to go to Sedona.
That's what I've heard, man. I want to go.
It is literally maybe the UFO capital of America. I'll be honest.
I've heard that. I gotta go. I'm going.
I'm
going
like
right now.
gemstones, weed, psychedelics, and UFOs is Sedona, Arizona.
I like all those things, so I think I'll fit right in.
Yeah. All right, man. It was great talking to you. Like I said,
Thank you, bro.
all his socials will be down below where you guys are watching and listening, and go run up those streams on So Long Babylon.
Appreciate you, dude. Thank you for having
All
me.
right. Yeah, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, man.